Joining me now, Democratic Representative from Tennessee, Congressman Steve Cohen. Congressman, welcome to you. You just heard Ron's report there. So a great source of frustration for this country has been the lack of meaningful progress that's been made regarding any sort of gun regulations by the federal government. But then recently, there have been states that have had some success passing stricter gun laws. So from Congress's point of view, has Congress given up passing any gun regulation? I mean, is this up to the states now?
Well, the states don't have Mitch McConnell. The Senate does, and the House is stymied by him. We passed a gun bill, and it was pretty modest, would have required background checks on all purchases. And we also passed a bill concerning the Charleston, South Carolina shooting to give a little extra time to check out some applications that would have maybe stopped that fellow from doing what he did. But Mitch McConnell's not scheduled either bill for a hearing. They're pretty simple, easy bills. They'd pass with overwhelming support, but Mitch McConnell won't schedule them. He calls the Senate the graveyard of House legislation. We passed ethics legislation. Go ahead.
Why does Mitch McConnell think that way? I mean, is there something? Are there dollars and cents behind this? I mean, what is it?
Well, there's not cents behind it. There could be dollars. What you've got is the NRA controls the Republican Party, and the NRA gives ratings, and the NRA doesn't want this to happen. The NRA wanted to pass a bill that would make it easier for people to buy silencers. Silencers was part of the Virginia Beach tragedy. The first shooting was outdoors, nobody heard it. The NRA controls the Republican Party, and while some of the folks in the Senate say that the Democrats need to go to Amazon and buy a spine, I'd say those that can't stand up for people that are being shot and killed in schools and in community centers and throughout this country need to get a spine and stand up to the NRA.
Look, you have been candid with me before about sort of behind the scenes and what your colleagues tell you. Have you heard Republicans, have they said to you, Steve, we wish that we could vote a different way, but we just can't do it? That personally, in their hearts, in their minds, they think that some sort of sensible, reasonable gun control legislation on any number of fronts really ought to be put forth in the federal government.
I haven't heard that from them, no. I've heard quite a few that they don't like Trump. They don't like Trump's way he acts as president, both in his statements, his tweets, his derogatory remarks about groups and women in particular, but just his whole style. But they haven't said it about the gun laws, and I think there are a lot of people in our country that think a lot about guns, and I understand that. But nevertheless, there are reasonable restrictions, and I don't think you should have. There should be, these weapons that shoot so quickly that the only purpose is to kill. It's not for sport. It's not for hunting. It's for killing. And there are reasonable restrictions that we could have. I passed the original right to carry bill in Tennessee, so I'm not against people having a gun to protect themselves.
Well, is anybody against that? Constantly you hear the cry, the pushback, like, oh, they're trying to take away our guns, trying to take our constitutional rights to have them, our amendment rights to have them. Is anybody saying that?
Well, there are some people that will, people say that they to protect our second rights. I had a fella come to my town hall this week, and he talked about how we had the strongest army in the world with the citizens with their guns. Well, that's a different perspective to think of citizens with guns as our army, and that's kind of the idea of some people that think that they need their guns to protect themselves against the government. There's some really Looney Tunes ideas out there, and they relate oftentimes to people with guns who think they're out there to fight the government.
Okay, we could talk about this for a long time, but I want to ask you about impeachment as well. There's a new poll out this morning which shows that 41% of people now support removing the president from office. And your colleague Jerry Nadler says that impeachment is a political act and you cannot impeach a president if the American people will not support it. So do you feel like you have the public support necessary to move forward on this?
I don't know if we do or don't. I certainly think it's the right thing to do morally. And I think it's the right thing to do to put a check on this president's power and any future president who tries to obstruct justice, violate the Emoluments Clause, and not respect Congress and the three branches of government. This president is totally out of control as far as disrespect for the Congress and doing investigations. They've refused to turn over materials, requests for documents. They've refused to testify and honor subpoenas. In the Justice Department, they refused the order of a judge produce some information. You just don't willy-nilly say to a judge, we're not going to do it. They are basically testing every single restriction on presidential executive authority, going beyond what the Founding Fathers described for the president and going to something that's more autocratic and monarchical. And we don't need a monarch.
I want to play for you what your colleague, Congressman Debbie Dingell, had to say about impeachment this morning with me. Take a listen to that.
There is a very theme that is throughout this report about how Russia is trying to divide this country. And I don't want to play into Russia's hands and divide this country more with a partisan impeachment. So I am totally schizophrenic right now about all of the different things that are in there. I think we have to do this in a bipartisan way.
Actually, she spoke with me this morning, but that was from Friday from Meet the Press Daily. So what do you think about her argument? Does it lack merit at all to you?
Well, I'm a big fan of Debbie's, but I don't think that we have to worry about Russia and what we do to uphold our own government, which is the best known to man. And right now it's being attacked because of a president who doesn't respect what the Founding Fathers put in the Constitution. He doesn't respect the Constitution. He doesn't respect Congress. He doesn't respect the judiciary. He doesn't respect the free press. So I don't agree with her on that. I can see where you're torn. People can feel that they have, as I do, a duty to uphold our constitutional oath, and that impeachment's necessary. Whether or not the Senate will convict of impeachment's another issue. You have a hearing. You produce the record for the American public to hear the misdeeds, the criminal acts of this president. And if the House does that and votes to impeach, and the Senate doesn't, that's the Senate's fault. The House's job is to decide whether or not there should be an impeachment, and we should do that. On the other hand, there's the politics of it, and you think, well, if he doesn't get convicted, it's going to give him a reason to go out and scream, look, I'm exonerated. They tried to get rid of me. It was a coup. He's going to say that kind of stuff anyway. And I think some senators will be in jeopardy of losing their jobs if they don't grow a spine and get away from Trump. You know, the only people with spine were on the Republican side were Corker and Flake, who left, Lamar Alexander on occasion, Ben Sass on occasion, Mitt Romney once or twice. Other than that, there's a pretty much of a problem with some vertebral growths on the Republican senators too.
Tennessee Democrat Steve Cohen, good to see you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alex. Nice to see you.
Thank you.